All right, here we are with the last video in chapter 5. This is the example video for how to do the LCM. We talked about this topic in the previous video about having to adjust for our inventory to be the lower of the cost or market. So I just want to kind of show you the way we do this, the way we calculate these kind of things, and the way that I did it when I was going through as a student that kind of helped me, again, keeping that system in place to where if I know it works like this, then this is how it's always going to be, and it's super easy for me to remember. So let's look at our example. Foxtrot Company has in its ending inventory clothing, electronics, toys, and food. The total quantity of each, as well as their invoice costs and market costs, are provided. Find the LCM write down. So that's something we're going to talk about in this video too. And accompanying journal entries, adjusting journal entries, assuming LCM is calculated on an individual basis. So like I told you in the previous video, this can be done in 3 different ways. It can be done in individual inventory, it can be done in groups or classifications of inventory, or it can be done as inventory as a whole. And in this video, I'm going to show you 2 of those 3 methods because the categories are fairly similar to the individual inventory. So we're going to be doing it as an individual inventory and as an inventory as a whole. But in this one, we're just doing it individually. So the way I do this, and notice it says we have t-shirts, gaming systems, yo-yos, and frozen pizza. So we're a hodgepodge of a store that what we sell. And it says we have the quantity of each of those, what the inventory cost was per unit of each of those, and then what today's market cost is of each of those per unit. And remember, market cost is simply just saying how much it would cost us to replace those in a normal way. What I do to begin this is I'm going to create another table. Or you can extend to the table that you're already given. But mine is going to have 3 columns as well. It's going to have total invoice cost, total market cost, and then also LCM. And I'm going to put those 4 different types of, or the 4 individual inventories down. So I'm going to say t-shirts, I'm going to say gaming systems, and I'm going to say yo-yo and frozen pizzas. Okay, so I'm just extending what's already there. And so for the first column, it's just total invoice cost. I know I have 45 t-shirts. And I know each one of them cost me inventory or invoice cost wise, each one of them cost me $4 a piece. So if I multiply those together, that's going to give me a total of $180. So I'm going to put that next to t-shirts under total invoice cost. I'm going to do the same thing for the gaming system, 15 units times $150 a piece. That's going to give me a total of $2,250. Yo-yos, 20 at $1.50. That's going to give me a total of $30. And then finally, frozen pizzas, 25 at $3. That's going to give me $75. All right, that takes care of the total invoice cost column. Now let's do the total market cost. Same principle as I have 45, and if I have to replace those at today's costs, what would it be in total? So 45 times the 450, that would give me a total of $202.50. 15 times the 125 for the gaming market cost for the gaming systems. That's going to give me $1,875. 20 yo-yos at today's current market cost, which would be $1 a piece. That's going to be $20. And then finally, 25 times the $4 market cost of frozen pizzas, expensive pizzas, for $100 in total. All right, so now I have the first part of my table setup, my total invoice cost, my total market cost. The next part, which is the LCM column, is super easy because all you're going to do is you're going to look at the 2 columns next to it, the total invoice cost and the total market cost, and just simply choose which one's lower. Remember, we're doing the lower of the cost or market. So for the t-shirts, the lowest one would be the 180. And so I'm going to take that, move it over to my LCM column. For gaming systems, it's going to be the $1,875. Move that over. For the yo-yos, it's going to be the $20. Move that over. And for the frozen pizzas, it's going to be $75. So I'm going to move that over. So now I have 3 columns. The next step will be to sum those 3 columns, take the sum of each of those. So I'm going to do that next. So for the total invoice cost, that's going to give me $2,535. For the total market cost, it's going to be a sum of $2,197.50. And for the LCM column, it's going to give me $2,150. Now, before we get into what is the LCM write-down, I really want you to pay attention to what these numbers mean because there is an importance to why, what these numbers are. Not simply how to get them, but what they really mean. And so this first one, the $2,535 under the total invoice cost, what does that mean? Well, that by itself is the ending inventory value before any LCM adjustments. Pretty much what that's saying is if you looked at your inventory T table right now without doing anything to it, that is going to be your ending balance. That is that's what your inventory is on your books for right now. Okay, so that's the total invoice cost. Let's look at the total market cost. What does that number mean? Well, that number means that's the total cost to replace all your inventory. So if you had a warehouse fire or something happened and you lost everything, that's what it would cost you right now to replace everything in a normal way. Now, what does this LCM mean? Well, the LCM is the LCM value. It is what should be in your ending inventory value. So we just talked about it earlier. The total invoice cost is what's in your books now. The LCM is what your inventory needs to be after your adjustment. So pretty much what you're saying is, what is it going to be after your adjustment? So I know that's my ending point. What do I need to adjust it by in order to get to that point? So the way we do this, and again, this is the reason why I do this way, is it's super easy and it's procedural. It's never going to change. When I have it like this, I'm going to take the total of column A, my total invoice cost, and the total of my column C, my LCM, and I'm going to subtract the two. It works every single time. And whatever I get, that's going to give me my LCM write down. And essentially what we're saying is that's what I'm going to write down my inventory by. That's what I have to put in the credit side of my inventory T table in order for that to be true. I have to decrease what is in my books now by 385 in order to get it to the LCM amount. And so now I have to do a journal entry for that. So I would just do whatever the period ends, 12/31. I would say COGS, inventory loss, because again, I'm expensing this through inventory, but it's not because I sold it, it's because I just lost value of it, of 385. And then I would also decrease my inventory, because that's the whole purpose of this, is decrease it to the lower of cost or market by that same 385. And so that's how you do the LCM if you were doing this for an individual inventory basis. Now let's look at how we would do this if this was as a whole, inventory as a whole. Same stuff, nothing's changed. Matter of fact, I'm going to bring up the same table that we just did, but I'm going to make one difference. I wouldn't say major difference, but I wouldn't say minor difference either. I want to change one thing. I'm going to take away the LCM column for just a moment, okay? Because when we did this for the individual inventory, we took the individual lower of the cost or market. So t-shirt, the lowest of the t-shirts, the lowest of the gaming systems, the lowest of the yo-yo. But we're not doing that here. We're doing this for the inventory as a whole. So what I'm going to be looking for is the lowest of the total amounts. Which side has the lower amount between the total invoice cost total and the total market cost total? And in this situation, it would be $2,197.50. That's what's moving over. So notice, when you're dealing with inventory individually, your LCM total is made up of the individual components. When you're looking at LCM as inventory as a whole, your total is made from the whole numbers of the total markets, the sums of the total market cost and the total invoice cost. That's the big difference. And so again, our inventory right now, what's on our books for, is going to be, ending inventory 2,535. What does it need to be? It needs to be 2,197.50. So what do I need to write it down by in order to achieve that? Well, again, I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Column A minus column C. Total invoice cost minus LCM. That's going to give me a total of $337.50. So that's what I need to bring the adjustment down by. And so my journal entry would look like this. It would look like 12/31, COGS inventory loss, again of 337.50, and inventory of 337.50. Now I do want to bring this up. If for some reason, if you're doing it exactly like this, if you're doing it my way, and in the sense of you're going to take total invoice cost minus LCM, so column A minus column C, and you have it set up just like this. If your write down is ever a negative number, then you've done something wrong. Because remember, the whole point of this is I want to get it to the lowest. If there's a negative number, that means I did not take the lowest. So it's either going to be 0, your answer, your LCM write down is either going to be 0 or it's going to be a positive number. If it's 0, that means you are already at the lowest, so you do nothing. There is no journal entry. You don't have to worry about anything like that. If it's a positive, then you need to do a write down. If it's a negative, that means you probably need to do it again because something went wrong. But that's how you do an LCM problem. Hopefully this is not too terribly bad for you. I know this has been a long chapter, but hopefully this made sense. But if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. Y'all have a good one.